as leaders, we need to be people who resolve conflict. If you're a leader, you're gonna face conflict. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's coming down the road. You're gonna walk into the office tomorrow, you might have a new issue. Maybe you have a month or two where you coast for free, but the more you're involved in leadership, the more you're gonna be involved in resolving conflict. And it's not fun, but it's good, and it's great to walk through the other side and realize that God has been able to use you as a peacemaker, or that when you've had a relationship that's on the rocks and God restores it, man, it's such a neat thing. It's such a blessing. I want to talk today about 5 things that you can do to help young leaders walk through conflict. The first thing is just to teach them biblical principles. And I think one of the biggest principles we see from Scripture is that if you're involved in conflict, whether you started it, whether it was started by someone else, whatever the situation is, you are called to make it right. You are called to be a peacemaker. If you know the Lord and you love the Lord and you want to live like Christ, you are called to make whatever is going on in the relationship right. Leaders need to be the ones to take the initiative. Not necessarily a leader in a position, but somebody who is a spiritual champion, a leader in God's kingdom, needs to be the person who goes and says, I want to make this relationship right. The second thing that you need to share or need to teach young leaders is that if you are not praying for the person that you're in conflict with, or that you are dealing with the conflict between two other people, if you're not praying for those situations, you're going to be judging them. It's natural in our hearts. If we're not praying, we judge. It happens. So make sure that you are praying for them. The third thing is to see things from the other person's perspective. Be open to understanding what it is. Maybe you thought you saw a teenager smoking, and really they were just driving in the car with a pen in their mouth or whatever. We've all had those situations where we thought something was different than it really was in reality. Just last week, somebody came to me and said, "Hey, this person is treating their girlfriend awful. What should we do about it?" And I said, "Well, go talk to the girlfriend and see." And later, I had a chance to talk to the boyfriend, and I just said, "Hey, what happened in this conversation? This was overheard by a staff member, and this is what was relayed to me. Can you help me to understand that?" And they said, "Oh yeah, I was explaining to them how so and so was treating their girlfriend and how awful it was," and so it was a situation where I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. I understand that. I see that." But before jumping to conclusions, I was able to hear from them. Hey, tell me how this looks like from your perspective. The fourth thing is to help leaders surface real issues. A lot of times, especially younger people or people that haven't had a lot of relational issues, they don't even know how to bring things up. Maybe they don't do it well, or they don't do it at the right time or the right place. But honor that they're wanting to bring the issue up, or maybe you give them the opportunity. You understand that something's going on, and you open the door. You invite the conversation for somebody to share things that are going on in their lives, and dig down. Help them to get to the core of the issue. Sometimes they don't even know what the issue is. I think a lot of times, especially with young leaders, maybe they're insecure, or they're not sure about something, and so they throw something out there, and it's a piece of it, but maybe it's not the root. And so help people to get to the core or the root of the issues. And the fifth thing is, I learned this from my boss, always open the door for further conversation. A lot of times people, maybe they're processing, they're thinking through something, they get home and they're like, "Oh, I totally forgot, I wanted to mention this." It provides a different spin on it, or whatever. And just open the door and say, "Hey, if you think of anything 24 or 48 hours later, feel free to give me a call. We'll talk about this more. We'll dialogue about it more," so that they don't think, "Okay, this has to end at this conversation." Conflict is okay. Ongoing conflict that is not dealt with is not okay. And so as leaders, we need to bring things up. We need to bring things into the light. we need to be people who are moving towards peace and relational healing. I think that that's one of the things that Christ calls us to, is to be leaders who initiate peace.